Alrighty, this is just We the People News. Okay, I'm not an attorney. I'm not giving legal advice. Just heads up. Okay, so do your own research. Okay, I'm only hearsay. Never, never look straight forward. Always look around you. Be able to protect yourself by any means necessary. People. All right, not persons. Persons, you can do what you wish. Just kidding. Um, all right, so this is I thought would be interesting. Okay, it's going to go to a title of, well, you'll see here in a second. I particularly wish that everybody had a very, very grateful and meaningful Thanksgiving out there, y'all. And I'm hoping everybody between here and there have a Merry, Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, just in case I don't have time to do any other videos. Okay? Not saying I will, not saying I won't. Alright, it's been a minute since now, and vacation with the offspring and all that kind of stuff. So we'll just play along and get along. Alright, let's check this out, y'all. What do you guys think?
Notice that every time I go to court, he says, I'm going to have you taken in for psychological.
Alright, before we go any further, should have done this a second ago. Check out sovereignty. Okay, and let's do that. There you go. And there you go. Alright, let's get back. Check out the videos. He's got some really interesting things to look at. Okay, I'm standing arm length because I'm not knowledge enough to know per se everything he speaks of or in.
Evaluation. What he's telling you is Title I.
By the way, it's not this guy that has a YouTube channel. The guy that has the YouTube channel is recording this guy.
Section 1, if you would, for me. Sure. And now, why do they call a 1040 a 1040? Why isn't it a 1039? Why does 1040 have anything to do with it? Why not a 2038, a 6106? Why is it a 1040? Can you tell me? Well, let's find out. If we understand the history, we can then build a case. And this is important to me. I'm a nerd that way, okay? Well,
okay, I got it up here.
Okay, what we're going to do is, then I'm going to go over the 1040 with you. If you look at Title I, the titles go from 1 to 50. 50 being the military, 26 is Title 26 is the Internal Revenue Code, Title 27 is the ATF, 18 is Crimes and Criminal Procedure, Title 31 is the Treasury. So there's statutes. So Title I, Section 1. Let's see what it says. I'm going to read it to you. In determining the meaning of any act of Congress, unless the context tells you otherwise. Now, who wrote Title 26?
Congress.
Congress. Okay? And it was printed by the GPO, the Government Printing Office. So what it's telling you is any act of Congress. There's arguments out there that will say, well, it has not been enacted into positive law, so therefore Title 26 doesn't have anything to do with me. Any act of Congress. Congress wrote it, whether it's been enacted or not, that makes no difference. Now, the second side says words importing the singular include and apply to several persons, parties, or things. I'm going to ask you,
we're going to pause there just for a second because give my opinion, okay? Recognize I'm not an attorney, okay? But where's men and women involved in that? Men and women are very powerful in law, or maybe possible of law as well. But remember, everything has to do with the person. Well, that person is a thing. Okay? The other couple of words. So you got to be careful with the trickery of words. And this is what this 1 U.S.C. Code 1, right? It's the trickery of words.
What does singular mean? Do you mind answering for me? What does singular mean?
One.
Individual. Okay, now ignorance, I'm not a problem. I'm going to let you say that. You're going to prison. You realize that? You're going to prison. Now it's just a matter of how long. Read that for me again, line 2. Read that again for me. Out loud, please.
Words importing the singular include and apply to several persons, parties, or things.
What does singular mean?
It means the whole group.
No, it means say. Now, let me ask you a question. Are you married by any chance? Okay, have you ever been married?
No.
Okay, if you were married, would you have singular wife or plural wives? What would you have?
Singular.
Really? So you'd have several wives, several. Now, let's read the next one. Words importing the plural include the singular. What does plural mean? One. Up means down, and down means up. Do you see that or not? So what they're doing is they have a language of their own, and they bastardize it to where on the stand, you're nervous, they're going to ask you a question. What does singular mean? One. No, sir, it means more than one. You just buried yourself. You're going to prison. You don't have a choice. Now it's just a matter of how long do you want to go? See, when they took me and they were putting me in prison for 55 years, the judge says, now because you're here, you're getting 55 years. He said, I'll tell you what, I'll cut you a deal, give you 30. So 30 years, 50 years, 1,000 years, makes no difference. I'm going to die there. So I told him, I said, man, let me make you a deal. Put you in jail for 100. And I sat down. He goes, so the judge didn't know what to say. What's he going to say? No, I'll tell you, I'll give you one more choice, 20. I said, okay, give me 120. He says, well, do you understand what you're saying? No, do you understand what you're saying? Now, I want you to think how I think. I owe you $500. Got that? Will you take 30? How much will you take?
100.
Really, you wouldn't take 600? Oh, see, I'm a nut job. I told you, I'm a nut job. So he's saying you owe me 55 years, but I'll give you 30 if you'll sign this that you're guilty and say that you won't challenge anything. So I told him no. So I told him, I said, what are you, nuts? I said, if you don't give me 120 years, you ain't got a hair in your ass. And I sat back down. And the judge says, I said, make it 125 because I'm being indicted. They got the indictment broken down. They didn't have 55 years there. He said, okay, I've never done this. This is the best deal I'll ever get you. Sign this and I'll give you 10 years. I said, add another 10 years. Sounds good. Give me 160 years. And I sat back down. And he says, so he had me unchained. I was chained around here, chained to my arms, chained to my ankle, and then they had an eye bolt in the floor and had a padlock on it. So the marshals unhooked me, took me into his office, into his chambers. He said, do you know what you're doing? You think you can beat the power, the awesome power of the United States? I said, I don't know. The question is, can you beat me? See, I don't think like normal. Does that make sense? Okay, now I want you to understand what they're saying up here. Now let's read the next one. Words used in the present tense includes the future as well. Now, am I the only PhD in here?
Public high school degree.
Public high school diploma. See,
We're the first ones to get
that's right. See, I got a public high school diploma. So the judge says, where'd you go to school? I said, well, I got a PhD. He says, you got a PhD? I said, well, yeah. Yeah. And he says, well, where'd you go to school? I said, Reed City High School. What? Yeah, I got a public high school diploma. He couldn't believe it. He punched that thing and threw the gavel at me and I went, you miss me. He says, are you making a mockery of the court? I said, no, that shit's already sailed. See, I understand jurisdiction, okay? Now, what does jurisdiction mean? Does anybody know? Okay, let me ask it this way. There's two jurisdictions. There's in rem, which is subject matter, and in personam. Which one's the most important for the judge to have in order to try you in that court? In rem, subject matter, or in personam? Which one's the most important? No, you're incorrect. Which one's the most important? I'm sorry?
Both of them.
No, thank you for the education.
No, sir. You're wrong again. You have to have both. Why? Well, okay, I've got personal jurisdiction, but I don't have jurisdiction on the subject matter. For an example, my wife wants a divorce, so she takes me to federal district court. The federal district court gives my wife everything. What did she just get? Nothing. Federal district court has no jurisdiction in divorce. You got to go to family court. Oh. See the problem we have? If we think of that, we'll never get stung in court again. So, the question is, how do you give the court jurisdiction? This is where I tore their head off. Okay, go ahead.
Oh, just by saying they're wrong.
No.
Walking in.
No. See, now, if the court, okay, go ahead.
Going forward out of the gap.
All right, no, that you said that. So I walk forward, I'm talking, and I walk in, and I sign a document, giving it to the judge. Now, what does my wife get in federal district court? What does my wife get now in federal district court? We've done everything you said. What does she get now?
She gets nothing.
Why is that?
Because they have no jurisdiction.
Duh! See, if there is no jurisdiction, they don't have it. So, how do you give the court jurisdiction? You can't. It's impossible. You couldn't give it to them if you begged them for it. Now, let me tell you why. Again, I figured this out because I'm going to prison for 55 years. They could have subject matter. That is a possibility. But the Bill of Rights says we have inalienable rights. Let me give you another word for inalienable, lienable. Our rights are not lienable. What is the court trying to do?
Legal.
You can't. That would be illegal. They're going to prison. I've had 3 federal judges banned from coming back, and they're off the bench today. Why? Because they're trying to lien my rights. Let me give you an example. I got his ticket. When I got to court, the first thing out of my mouth was, does this court have jurisdiction? What do you think they said? Yes.
They always say yes.
Okay, and I said, can I see it? What do you think he said? No. I said, okay, I got a question. I got a ticket right here. I got a ticket. So that's the transportation ticket. This is a transportation code court. Would that be reasonable? The judge goes, I said, is that a reasonable request? Because you said you had it. I got a transportation ticket. So it's a transportation code court. He says, well, yeah. Okay. Under the transportation code 541.201, and I could be wrong, I'm pretty sure that's right. It says transportation is for commercial use only. So guess what? I'm not going to argue with them. I'm not going to sit there and say, well, you know what? I can beat my chest harder than you. I got more hair in my chest. I can shave better. I'm taller. I'm shorter. I'm bigger. I'm smaller. I'm not going to argue that with them. I'm a sovereign. Who in here is not a taxpayer? Can you raise your hand for me? Define it.
Yeah.
Well, if you're paying taxes.
All right, so we're going to stop it right there. Anyway, it's something to look at, right? Because I've been speaking of this for how long now? They're using trickery of words, okay? And it's kind of like the judge, like he's basically saying, right? If a judge asks me, is the sky blue, right? Once you say yes, you just made a claim. The courts don't have no claims anymore. You just made that claim. But what the judge left out, and you agreed to, he never particularly said what time of day, right? I could be colorblind. No, the sky's pink because I'm colorblind. Well, you still made the claim for that judge. This is where they get you. They have the burden of proof, but once you make a claim, they flip it. Right? But you never said, I don't know what time of day you speak of. Right? 11 a.m. you know, you got daylight, but it's cloudy outside, then the sky's not blue, right? If it's 11 p.m., well, the sky's not blue, it's black. It's the trickery of words and how we are falling in to their little trap. These will be the People News. Bye, y'all.